Okay, so in this lesson, I'm going to show you how to evaluate composition functions. So here you're given f of x is 2x squared, take away x plus 3. And then g of x is 5 take away x squared. Okay, so here we are going to determine what f of g of negative 2 is, and then g of f of 4 is. So f of g of negative 2. So to evaluate this, okay, first thing you need to do is find out what g of negative 2 is. Then you're going to find f of that number. So you got to work the inside function. So up here I'm going to show you how to find g of negative 2. So g of negative 2. So think of this as g of x. G of x. So that means this is your x. Okay, so negative 2 is the value for x. So you're going to go over here and find g of x. So here's g of x. So x is negative 2. So you're going to plug negative 2 into x. So it's going to look like this. So you get 5 minus negative 2 squared. And then 5 minus, well, negative 2 squared is going to give you 4. Because it's negative 2 times negative 2. So that makes it 4. And then 5 take away 4 is 1. So g of negative 2 is 1. So now over here, you're going to go and find what f of 1 is. So we found g of negative 2 to be 1. Now you're going to find f of 1. Well, to find f of 1, you're going to do the same thing, right? So you're going to go up here, find where f of x is, because you're working with the f function. So here f of x is 2x squared take away x plus 3. So we know that x is 1 because it's f of x, right? So f of x meaning the 1 is the x. So we're going to go 2x squared, so that's 1 squared, take away x, take away 1, plus 3. And then you simplify the expression. We got to do the exponent before we multiply here. So 1 squared is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. Take away 1 plus 3. And that's going to give you 4. So here is 4. To write it out, we go f of g of negative 2 is 4. Okay, and that's how you evaluate that. So now we're going to move on to the next one. Okay, so we just did f of g of negative 2. We just found f of g of negative 2. Well, we're going to find g of f of 4. So g f of 4. Okay, so to find this, first thing we have to do is find what f of 4 is, and then take g of that number. So over here, we're going to find f of 4. So again, think of it as f of x. Therefore, that's going to be your x. So the 4 is going to be your x. Okay, so we're going to plug the 4 in here using f of x now. Okay, because we're working with the f function. So it's going to be 2x squared. So that's going to be 4 squared. Take away x, take away 4, and then plus 3. And then we're going to simplify the expression. 4 squared is 16. Okay, when you square the 4 here, guys, it's going to give you 16. 16 times 2, well, that's 32. And then bring down the negative 4, and then bring down the plus 3. Okay, so 32 take away 4 is 28. 28 plus 3 is 31. Okay, so that's a big number. Okay, so f of 4 give us 31, because now we have to find g what 31 is. So g of 31, think of this as x. G of x, g of 31. So here's your g of x. So your x is going to be 31. So 31 is going to go right where x is. So this is going to look like this. 5 take away 31 square. Okay? And then 5 take away. Well, 31 square is 31 times 31. And that's going to give us 961. Okay, and then 5 take away 961 is going to give you a negative number. So it's going to give you negative 956. So g of f of 4 comes out to negative 956. Okay, and that's how you evaluate composition functions. So here it says to perform the indicated operation. Okay, so we're given two functions, f of x and g of x. And we're looking for f of g of 3 and then g of f of negative 4. Okay, we're looking to evaluate f of g of 3. Okay, so this is a composition function. To determine what this is, first thing you have to do is find out what g of 3 is. G of 3, think of it as g of x. Right, so g of x. So g of 3, okay, your x is going to be 3. So to find this, g of 3, you got to take 3. Well, you got to find g of x over here. Okay, so here's your g of x. And we're going to plug 3 right into x, okay? So the 3 goes right in here. So it's going to look like this. Square root of 3 square, because it's x squared, take away 6. Okay, and then we got to do the exponent first. So 3 squared is 9. Take away 6. Okay, so g of 3. Okay, so g of 3 is going to give you square root of 3. Okay, so that's g of 3. So now we got to come back over here. So now we got to plug in what g of 3 is, and we found that to be square root of 3. So now to finish this up, we're looking for f of square root of 3. Okay, so what happened here now, okay, think of this as f of x. So x is square root of 3, so you go and find f of x, so it's over here. And you're going to plug square root of 3 where this x is. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. So it looks like this. Negative 2, square root of 3 is x, and then plus 1. All right, so there's nothing else you can do to this. You cannot add these two numbers. You can evaluate, get the approximation, but we're not going to do that, okay? So that's how you do the first one. Okay, so the second one is to determine g of f of negative 4. So we're looking for this now. Okay, so it's the same process as we did with this one. G is the outside function now. And then f of negative 4 is the inside. So you have to determine what f of negative 4 is. So we're going to go up here, okay, to work out f of negative 4. Okay, so think of this as f of x, right? So negative 4 is going to be your x. Okay, so how do we find f of negative 4? Take negative, well, you find f of x. So f of x is right here. See it? And then you're going to plug negative 4 where x is. So negative 4 goes right in there. So it looks like this. You got negative 2 times negative 4 and then plus 1. Okay, negative 2 times negative 4 is going to give you 8 plus 1, and that's going to give you 9. Okay, so f of negative 4 is 9. Okay, so the negative 4 is the x, the 9 is the y. Negative 4 is the input, and then 9 is the output using the given function. So now we're going to come over here and find out what g of 9 is. Okay, it's the same process using different function. So now g of x, okay, g of x is 9. So here's your g of x. So we're going to plug 9 in here, right? So 9 goes in there. This x right here. So it's going to look like this. Square root of 9 squared. Take away 6. 9 squared is 9 times 9. That's 81. Minus 6. Okay, what's 81 minus 6? Well, that's going to give you square root of 75. Now, 75 is not a perfect square, right? We got to simplify square root of 75. Since it's not a perfect square, we have to simplify this by breaking it up into where 1 is a perfect square. Okay, how about we use 25, because that's a perfect square, times square root of 3. Okay, so we break this up using those two numbers, because 25 is a perfect square. Well, 5 times 5 is 25, so that would be 5. And then bring down the square root of 3, and that's what that is, okay? So g of f of negative 4, 5 square root of 3. All right, so I hope that is helpful, how to determine composition function. Okay, so let's take a look at another one. Again, perform the indicated operation. So here we're looking for f of g of x. Notice we do not have a number for x this time. And then g of f of x. No number for x. Okay, so to determine this, f of g of x. Okay, so to determine f of g of x, notice g of x is inside, right? So you are going to plug g of x into f of x. So let's go ahead and find g of x. So here's g of x, right? This is your g of x. Okay, since we have to plug that into f of x, okay, we're going to take that whole thing and we're going to plug it into the x of the f of x. Okay, so it's going to look like this. So you got negative 5 times whatever x is, and x happened to be what g of x is, which is x squared plus 2. So you got negative 5 times x squared plus 2. Okay, and then you take away 2 from that. So now we just have to simplify. So here we have to distribute the -5 to get rid of that parenthesis. So -5 times x squared, and then -5 times 2. So it's going to look like this. So -5 x squared. Okay, and then -5 times +2 is -10. And then we bring down the -2. And then these two are like terms, so we want to go ahead and collect them. So look, combine these two terms. Okay, because they both are constant. Okay, so what's -10 with -2? Well, that comes out to -12. All right, so there's nothing else you can do to this. So we are done. So that's what f of g of x is. So the other one is g of f of x. Okay, so again, look, think about this as g of x, right? G of x. So the f of x is the x of the g of x. So we take f of x and we plug it into the x of the g of x. So this right here now, so we're going to take that and we're going to plug it right in there. So it's going to look like this now. -5, because it's x squared, right? So -5x minus 2. That whole thing square. And then plus 2. Okay, so that's how you plug it in. We just have to simplify to come up with the final expression. So now because it's, see, you're taking -5x minus 2 squared. Well, that's the same thing as taking -5x minus 2 times -5x minus 2. Okay, because it's square, you have to multiply by itself. Okay, and then we're going to bring down the plus 2. All right, so we're going to go ahead and apply the distributive property here to get rid of the parenthesis. So -5x times -5x, and then -5x times -2. So we have 25x squared, right? And then plus 10x. Okay, so and then we're going to do the same thing with the -2. So -2 times -5x, and then -2 times -2. Okay, so what is -2 times -5x? Positive 10x. And then plus 4. And then bring down the 2. All right, now we just have to combine like terms. And then we're all done. So there is no x squared term, so we're just going to bring that down. And then look at, you got 10x with 10x, right? Well, that makes it 20x. 10 plus 10. And then you got these two constant, right? So 4 plus 2 is going to give you 6. Okay, so this is the g of f of x. Okay, so this is what your g of f of x is. Okay, let's take a look at another one here. So again, we're performing the indicated operation. So we're looking to find f of g of x and then g of f of x. So to find f of g of x, okay, so think of this as f of x. So the inside is the x. See it, f of x. So that would be your x. So you're going to take g of x, and then you're going to plug that into the x of the f of x. So you have cube root of x cubed plus 4 take away 4. Okay, positive 4 minus 4 is 0. So you're left with cube root of x cubed. Okay, so x cubed is a perfect cube. So when you take cube root of it, you're just going to get x. Cube root of x cubed is the same as x. So that's how you come up with f of g of x. Okay, so we determined what f of g of x is. And now we're going to find what g of f of x is. Okay, we found f of g of x. So the process of finding g of x is similar. So g is outside and then f of x is inside. Okay, you're going to take f of x. So up here, f of x is cube root of x take away 4. And we're going to plug that in to the x of g of x. Okay, so we take the f of x and we plug it into the x of g of x. Because right here it's g of x, right? So f of x is the x. All right, so it's going to look like this. So we have cube root of x take away 4. And that's the f of x. And then we're going to cube it and then plus 4. So right here, the cube would take out the cube root, right? Just like the square takes away the square root, they cancel. So you're left with just x take away 4 and then plus 4. The negative 4 and the 4, they add up to 0, so those are gone, so you're left with x. G of f of x is also x. All right, so and that's how you evaluate composition function. Okay, this is the last one that I'm going to show you how to evaluate composition function. So here again, we're given two functions, f of x and g of x. And then we have to come up with f of g of x. And then we have to come up with g of f of x. Okay, let's start with f of g of x. Okay, so f of g of x is the same as f of x. So therefore, your g of x is going to be the x of the f of x. So we're going to take g of x. So we're going to take this. Okay, this is your g of x. Okay, and then we're going to plug it into the x of the f of x. So into that x. So it's going to look like this. Negative 2 times square root of x take away 5. And then plus 3 on the outside. Okay, so now if you look at this function, there is a square root involved. So see this square root right here? Well, x cannot be all real numbers here because you're working with square root. Okay, you guys remember that you cannot take square root of a negative number. For example, if you take square root of 4, well, you can come up with 2, okay, because 2 times 2 is 4, right? So that's why square root of 4 is 2. Now, if you try to take square root of negative 4, okay, can you take square root of negative 4? Can you think of a number multiplied by itself give you negative 4? Well, that's not possible. Okay, so therefore, this expressions right here can only be positive number. X can only be a number that when you plug it in, this comes out to 0 or positive. It has to come out to greater than 0. Okay, so there's a restriction to this. So we have to tell what that restriction is. So if you set it, well, we're going to set that expression. Okay, we're going to set that expression greater than or equals to 0, and then we're going to solve for it. Okay, so x take away 5 is greater than or equals to 0. And to solve for it, we would add 5, add 5. Okay, we know how to do this. And then bring down the x. Okay, negative 5 and positive 5, they add up to 0, so those are all gone. And then bring down the greater than or equals to, and then 5. Okay, so x, well here, x has to be a number that's greater than or equals to 5. So x can be 5, 6, 6.5, 7, 7.1, so on. So I hope that makes sense in terms of your domain and your input. X is your domain and your input. What number can you plug it into x and be able to evaluate? Okay, so here you have g, okay, of f of x. So now this one you're going to plug f of x, because f of x is the x of g of x. So you're going to take f of x, which is this right here, negative 2x plus 3. Okay, and then you're going to plug that into this x right here. Okay, so you're going to plug negative 2x plus 3 and then take away 5. And now we're going to simplify this. So it'll be square root of negative 2x minus 2. Okay, now again, we're dealing with square root. Okay, you have to understand that you cannot take square root of a negative number because it's not a real number. Okay, so we have to find out, okay, what x cannot be. This expression right here, whatever x is, when you plug it in, work this out, it has to come out to 0 or greater than 0, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to set that expression, negative 2x minus 2 greater than or equals to 0, and then we're going to solve for it. So solving here, I would add 2, then I have negative 2x, well, this is gone, and then greater than or equals to 2, and then divide by negative 2. Divide by negative 2. Now when I divide by a negative number, I have to flip the symbol. So instead of greater than or equals to, become less than or equals to negative 1. Okay, so this is your domain that is less than or equals to negative 1. So x can be negative 1, x can be negative 2, x can be negative 3, x can be negative 4, and all those decimal numbers between those negative integers, okay? So to write this out, g of f of x is square root of negative 2x minus 2, and then x has to be less than or equals to negative 1. So that takes us to the end of this lesson. Okay, I want to thank you guys for watching this video. If you find it helpful to you, okay, please help share and subscribe down below. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.